Temujin had now destroyed all who opposed him. With his lifelong rival Jamaka defeated, all of Mongolia was now undisputably his. He was no longer the same orphan outcast, living on the edge of the world, running at the sound of any potential danger. He was now the ruler of Mongolia. He ruled everything from the Gobi Desert to the south to Siberia in the north. A year after the defeat of the Naiman in 1206, Temujin held the most important Kurultai to ever take place in Mongolian history. It would be a massive celebration with many Mongolian games of sport, including archery, wrestling, and hunting. Tents stretched for miles as Mongolia celebrated its new emperor. It was now that Temujin had come to pass, and the mighty Genghis Khan enters the world. The Mongolian nation had been formed, and the rest of the world now began to take notice of this new ruler. To the south of the new nation, the northern Chinese state of the Jurchid had recently proclaimed a new king to the throne. The Jurchid had previous relations with Mongolia, pitting leaders against each other in order to keep each large tribe too weak to contend with the Jurchid. To the Jurchid, this new Khan was simply an out-of-hand chief on the border of civilization. Delegates arrived to announce to the Mongols the new Golden Khan of the Jurchid, and to demand that the Mongols submit to the Jurchid throne. Genghis Khan had been long past his days of submission to another man. He would not submit to these oppressors, who did not respect him or his people. As the Mongol army marched south on the Jurchid cities, the Jurchid had no fear of the Mongol horde. The Mongols were severely outnumbered and less technologically advanced, but the Jurchid would be the first to learn that the Mongol horde was something to be feared. Unlike the armies of walled cities, the entirety of the Mongol army was composed of cavalry, all of whom were trained to fire accurately with a bow while mounted, and who could survive independently while traveling from one place to another. This meant that the Mongol army had no need for supply trains. As long as there was grassland for their animals to feed, the Mongol army could outlast any walled city. Nevertheless, the Mongols were fighting on alien soil against a larger, more technologically advanced force. Genghis Khan, however, had known how to defeat a stronger opponent, as that was the only thing he had done his entire life. Before facing the walled cities of the Jurchid, Genghis ordered his generals to spread out and wreak havoc on the countryside. As was common in all warfare at the time, the armies spread out, pillaging village to village, taking any loot that they saw fit. The Mongols did not, however, stop at supplies. The villagers themselves were of great use to the Mongols, who needed the manpower for basic tasks like filling moats, manning battery rams, or simply gathering more resources for the army. As the Mongols spread throughout the countryside, more and more people fled to the walled cities, which created more and more tension as the overpopulation caused the already diminishing condition of the cities to worsen. Starvation, disease, and mutinies caused many cities to concede to the Mongols without a single battle ever taking place. And when battles did take place, the numerically superior Jurchid found themselves at a disadvantage. The Mongolian Tumen units were more agile than their Chinese opponents. The Jurchid armies were broken apart into large formations, similar to most sedentary civilizations at the time. The Mongols could organize their force all the way down to a single man with ease, and the fluidity of the Mongol force would have given the enemy the impression that the Mongols were a hive mind. The Mongols captured Chinese engineers and forced them to create siege engines that allowed the Mongols to destroy the large walls that had prevented them from raiding south in the past. Genghis recognized the disparity in technology between his enemy and his own army, and he fixed this problem by rewarding any engineer or scientist that defected to the Mongol side. The Mongols used tactics on the Jurchid that they had developed on the steppe for centuries. To the Mongols, the Jurchid were simply cattle to be rounded up. When a city was holding out for too long, the Mongols feigned retreat and enveloped the Jurchid as soon as they came out of their walls. City by city fell. At last, Genghis captured the capital of Zhongdo, or present-day Beijing, and forced the Golden Khan to submit as a vassal of the Mongols, and to forfeit gold, silver, and silk to the Mongols, as well as men and women to take home to Mongolia. What began as the Jurchid attempting to force the Mongols into a position of slavery, as they had for centuries, did not turn out the way that they had anticipated. Genghis had now conquered his first kingdom, and he could taste his future. The Mongols were no Chinese slaves. Stay tuned next week for the Mongols' entrance into the Middle East. Support the channel on Patreon, and subscribe for weekly animated history videos.